we're just going to go over just some of the videos that you might have seen, or maybe even missed some of these. Here's first our U.S. Border Patrol agents under fire. Cut one. Can't see there. Okay, so they're in their Humvee or whatever it is. All right. It's got to be great going into Los Angeles, trying to do your job and feeling this. They're all in gas masks. Now, cut two. This is a vehicle capturing the aftermath of the Border Patrol vehicle as it's struck by objects. Here is cut number two. You see the broken windshield up in front. All right. Cut three. These are foreign flags and the chanting on the streets of California. And there, of course, is the Party City Hamas flag. See that one? What are they chanting? I'm a lunatic. I'm a lunatic. You and me, we're lunatics. What was it? Notice we're going to get into this next hour. Play that again. Keep playing that. You'll notice there's a sign that they're carrying, and you'll see it here in just a second. Right there. Chirla. CHIRLA. We're going to get into what that is here in just a second. But it is important that you understand they're telling you who they are. And we're going to get into that here in just a minute. Here are some rioters that are hurling rocks at the federal convoy. Again, just throwing some rocks at everything.
Unbelievable. I mean, these people could easily be killed by this. You're throwing a rock at someone coming by you at 45 miles an hour. If it goes through the windshield, it's going to kill the person.
Yeah. So let's go to the next one. Here's CNN, and how peaceful it is.
At this point, this has been very peaceful, Brian. It has been tense at some points, but we haven't seen any violence happening here. What people are saying is that they don't think ICE belongs in Los Angeles, that they want ICE out of the city.
Is that the standard?
You can.
Is that the standard, Glenn?
No, it's really not.
It's a peace because peaceful to me indicates a bunch of people standing around, not committing any crimes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe walking down the street. This is them blocking a freeway. She's standing in the middle of what seems like a freeway, right? Stopping all this traffic, terrifying the people that couldn't get through.
Right.
And then
but it's mostly peaceful.
It's mostly peaceful. And then just down the street, things are on fire and they're throwing rocks at people passing by at 40 miles an hour. That's not mostly peaceful. That's just not, it's not the standard. It's easy to be peaceful most of the time. Most criminals are, I would assume.
I don't know how you are defining the word mostly, but let me help you out. Hiroshima.
Okay.
Hiroshima, 1945. It was mostly moderate temperatures, except for that one spike for just a little short period of time on that one day. But it was mostly moderate temperatures. I don't understand what you're, Here is Karen Bass, the Los Angeles communist mayor. Here's what she's saying.
And frankly, I'm just outraged because what happened is that when ICE went in, they just took people away. And we just can't have this in our city. And it happened multiple places in the city. And what it does is that it sows a sense of terror throughout the community. For example, location.
Stop. So I just want to make sure, remind you, one of the guys that they arrested was inserting foreign objects into people forcefully. I think that's called rape myself, but I don't know. I'm not an LA prosecutor, so I don't know what they call it there. But it should sow some terror into the minds of people like that. We're coming to get you. But that's not the average person in California. And if it is, I remind you, don't go to Disneyland. For the love of God, go to Florida. At least maybe you won't have things inserted inside of you if that's the way average Californians behave. We have Jason Buttrill with us. Jason, you're watching all of this. What jumps out to you?
Specifically, the claims of spontaneous grassroots. It's just it's a natural response, to society when something this terrifying happens. But then they all have this one weird ideology blended with another one, which is very, very strange. Like when, it's just kind of a crazy coincidence that they're all socialists, communists, Marxists with a little hint of Islamism. That's just
really?
I don't, does anything ever weird happen or bad in history when you try to rally a bunch of people around socialism and anti-Semitism? Has that ever happened before? I mean...
Well, no.
I don't know.
No, I know what you're saying, but Germany was mostly safe for the Jews.
That's very true. That's what... Yeah, okay.
Except for that little period of time. But other than that, mostly safe for Jews.
Oh my gosh, Glenn. These groups, you look at some of the groups, and you've mentioned some of them, but Party for Socialism and Liberation conveniently had all these slick signs printed up. I'm trying to search way back in the memory banks, but I think we saw the same thing and ties to pretty much every anti-Semitic attack and violent riot that has happened over the past year or so.
Let's remind you, what was the name of the party that the guy, Stu, can you look this up real quick? Remember the guy who shot the two kids in Washington, D.C., coming out of that, how to help the Palestinian people, and these two Jews walk out and they're gunned down in the street. He was part of the Party of Socialism or something, wasn't he?
He had ties to the Party for Socialism and Liberation and another group, either the People's Forum or the Answer Coalition. I can't remember.
Which is also involved in all of this.
No!
Yeah!
In this grassroots spontaneous thing?
Yes!
Wow.
Yes!
Wow.
Producing the killer in Washington, D.C. and these.
And the riots on Columbia University. Kind of odd. It's very grassroots.
So here's L.A. Councilwoman Hernandez. Listen to this. Cut 13.
They know how quickly we mobilize. That's why they're changing tactics. Because community defense works and our resistance has slowed them down before. And if they're escalating their tactics, then so are we. When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
Okay, I'm not sure what that means exactly. They're escalating the tactics. Well, when you shut down freeways, when you start throwing literal concrete slabs at police officers and federal officers, I think they're going to have to change tactics, because despite what CNN says, it's not a mostly peaceful protest at that point. So they're sending in the National Guard. By the way, we're going to have a lot in the next couple of days, but in about 20 minutes, I'm going to take you through the funding. You have to find ways to get this to your friends, because if they cannot be saved at this point, if they can't be turned and they can't understand what's actually happening in California and who's responsible and behind it and what their intentions are, you're going to have to write your friends off. You're just going to have to, because they'll never get it. If they can't get it after what we will teach you this week, they never will get it. So it's really important that you understand what's actually happening, and not just the stuff on X and everything else, but you actually understand in depth what is actually happening. And we'll give that to you here in about 20 minutes. But so the president sent out the National Guard. Well, the governor was very upset about it. Very upset. He says that it was unlawful. Police were making arrests, 29 on Saturday, 10 on Sunday. That's what this whole thing, they say, is about. 39 different arrests. Not going in and scooping up whole neighborhoods. very specific, targeted individuals who we told you who some of them were. They are very bad people. So, once again, is this about that, or is this about the overthrowing of the United States? Okay, so Los Angeles police declared several of these, quote, rallies to be unlawful assemblies, and the police were saying they're throwing, quote, concrete projectiles, bottles, and other items at police. They set several self-driving cars from Alphabet's Waymo. I love this. They set those things on fire. How much is that costing you, Google? You're regretting it all, being in bed with these people at all? And no, of course not. Of course not. Demonstrators were shouting shame on you at the police while they were throwing concrete slabs. They were carrying Mexican flags and signs denouncing U.S. immigration authorities. And those signs, as you pointed out, Jason, I mean, just look at the pictures. At the bottom of the sign, they were printed by which group?
Party for Socialism and Liberation.
Okay. Socialists and anti-Semites. Socialists and anti-Israel people. This is so incredibly dangerous. Because when we say they're anti-Israel, they're anti-Semites, what we really mean is they're Islamists. And we're going to give you some stuff this week on what's happening in our country. But I'm telling you, this is our future. This is what it's going to look like from now until 2028. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse on our streets. And we're going to have some decisions made. And we have to be very, very careful, because if somebody should win on the other side, on their side in 2028, we're in deep, deep trouble, because they don't care about the law. They are not enforcing the law. They do not care about the Constitution. They will wrap themselves in the Constitution, but they don't care. So the president sent out the National Guard, and everybody who knows anything about the Constitution will say immediately, he can't do that. Posse comitatus. But read the Constitution. The president can send in the National Guard without the approval of the state or the governor on very specific things. Okay? And here they are. The president has the authority in cases of insurrection, rebellion, or when federal rights are being denied. Okay? So he can do it, active duty military in the United States, for extraordinary situations. They can send them in, Section 251, at the request of the state. If a legislator or governor of the legislature can't be convened, request of help to suppress an insurrection can be sent to the president, and he can send them in. Section 252, without a request, when he needs to enforce federal law, if unlawful obstructions or rebellion make it impracticable, is that right? Whatever, to enforce federal. How did I get this job? I'm in the Hall of Fame. America, raise your standards for the love of Pete. Anyway, if it makes it impossible for them to enforce federal law in a state by regular means, the president can send in forces without state consent. Would you say that we are having unlawful obstructions or rebellion that make it impossible to enforce the federal law in California? Section 253, rebellion or denial of constitutional rights. So if there is an insurrection or domestic violence that hinders the execution of federal law, results in the denial of civil rights protected under the Constitution, or if the state authorities are unable or unwilling to protect those rights, the president may deploy troops without the approval of the government. Okay.